Hi everyone, welcome to the Pilates mobility session. Hopefully you enjoyed or saw the video last week. So today's session, again myself Peter, I'll be your trainer. Before we get started, I'd just like to start to thank Trainify for sponsoring the workout for you today. So Trainify provides workouts for you to do anywhere. Obviously, just like myself at home here. So with regards to last session, if you didn't watch it, I would recommend especially the first 5 to 10 minutes. So I went into a little bit more detail on the breathing and then how that's going to be assistive and supportive through the positions so that you can get a much better kind of stretch to the exercise and we can create better mobility at the joints. And obviously through the muscles and the soft tissue that we're going to be working as well. And so with regards to today, we are going to start the session on our knees, and we're going to start off with a little bit of hip opening and then introducing some slightly different movements that we did last week as well. So just for the purpose so you can see my position, I'm just going to bring myself at a slight angle and then just step my right foot forward. So we're going to begin this session today with a little bit of a hip opener. So from this position, just want you to feel with your hand, one hand along the back of the pelvis and then one hand along the front of the pelvis, kind of more toward the hip bones as well, that as you create a little bit more of a tuck, that causes the hip bones along the front to slightly lift. And then just from this position, you're going to start bending your right knee and bring it forward toward more above the toes. So we want to keep the tailbone tucking so it's at a slight angle. The upper body is at a slight angle from this position as well. And you're going to be feeling this primarily through the hip flexors. So we've brought those hip flexor muscles into a nice extended stretch position, and that's going to benefit us well when we get more into the main body of the session. Now just from this position, raise your left arm up as well and just kind of look forward at an ever slight angle, so you're looking slightly down. With that left arm raised, keep the shoulder relaxed away from your ears and then just leaning your body slightly to the right as well if you can, so that we create more of a stretch up through the side of your waist. And we'll hold this just for 2 full breaths. And a full breath cycle will always be an inhale and an exhale. Lower the arm, bring your body back in. Good. And then I'm just going to change position to the other side. So at a slight angle, this time I step my left foot forward and then just keep the heel on the floor or on the mat. The knee is above your ankle. Your tailbone tucks between the legs. Again, check in with your hands if needed. Hip bones along the front ever so slightly lift. And already you should be feeling that kind of stretch and lengthening through the front of your right hip. And then start to bend through your left knee as you lean your body forward at an angle. And then again, just with the upper body and your head slightly at that angle as well. And then from here, your right arm raises up. You can place your left hand on your hip or on your thigh, wherever feels comfortable for you. Really reaching that right arm up. Keep the shoulder drawn down away from the socket. And then leaning over ever so slightly to the left side if you feel you're able to do that, so that we increase the stretch going up through the side of the spine somewhat as well. And just hold here for a few deep breaths. Come back through the center, lower the arm, and then return back through the legs. Good. So from that, I'm going to get you down onto your back into a semi-supine position. And we're going to take that into some arm arcs first. So get a little bit of mobility through your shoulders. So as you lie down, have your feet just about hip width distance apart, and your back of your pelvic area is pressing down into the mat. the back of your rib cage is down into the mat, as is the back of your skull. So you've got those 4 points of contact onto the floor below you. Heels, back of the pelvis, back of the ribs, back of the head. Feel like there's a nice even distribution through those points as well. So kind of shuffle, adjust at any point if we need. And then you're just going to raise your arms up directly above chest level. So your fingers and thumbs are nicely spread apart, and maybe take your hands ever so slightly wider so that you feel the kind of bony part of your shoulders come in contact with the mat with a little bit more ease. Now, those 4 points of contact remain the same on the mat. The next time you breathe in, allow the back of the arms, or your arms completely, to start falling overhead so that your back of your hands come in contact with the floor. And then breathe out, raise your arms up directly above chest level. Continue. Inhale. Good. So that reference point where those 4 heavy points in contact is quite relevant as the arms go over, so that you're not allowing your rib cage to flare or feel like your head is moving around, or even your kind of pelvic position is starting to move and bring in a little bit of movement through the lower back. So we want to keep the whole of the spine, including the rib cage, quite quiet and create more of a stretch along the front of the shoulders and around the shoulder joint as well. Now hold the arms directly above your chest, and this time as you breathe in, lower your left arm down by your hip and your right arm goes above your head again. Exhale. Arms directly above the chest. Inhale. Left arm goes over, right arm down by your hip. Exhale. The arms lift up. Good. Continue going from one side to the other. Those 4 heavy points, the feet give us a nice kind of width of distribution and connection, but the 3 ones that are from the pelvis, back of the ribs and the skull are right down the middle of your body. And that's important when we split the arm arc now to single arm, because if we keep those 3 points heavy through the spine, then the differences that we are going to have between the arms, that's just totally fine. You know, if you're one hand dominant in what you do with regards to maybe writing or a profession, or if you've had a lot of kind of injuries or such as that with one side of the body particularly, there is going to be a big difference, and just embrace that. But know the nature of the movement, and keeping the spine pretty heavy will mean we'll start to get into that and create better stretch and mobility through each side. Good, let's do one more. Nice. Okay, so your arms go down onto the floor again, but this time just take your arms a little bit wider than hip width distance apart. So from here, we're going to stay in a similar position and we're going to move into a bridge. So the focus of the bridge is more kind of spine articulation, hip opening, rather than really activating certain muscles, for example. So bring your heels slightly closer toward your bum, if that feels okay. Keep your feet hip width distance apart. And then all I'd like you to do is create a slight tuck of your tailbone between your legs so that your lower back gently presses into the mat. And then take the tuck going the other way so that it points down toward the floor, and your lower back will gently arc. And just do that movement a few more times each direction. Now, as you're doing it, you'll start to feel that the lower spine and maybe a little bit higher up through the mid spine, upper spine and head starts to move as a result of what we're doing at the tailbone. And that's exactly what we want. So we're trying to build that connection. Now, the next time you find that tuck of the tailbone between the legs, hold it there with your lower back gently pressing and your bum slightly hovered off the mat. At this point, if you feel any cramping into the hamstring muscles at the back of your thighs, adjust your feet position so that they're maybe slightly farther away. Now, spread your fingers and thumbs into the floor nice and wide, and with that connection you should feel the back of the arms and the shoulders working a little bit more to stabilize you as well. Now take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, press down through your heels, sending your knees reaching forward with your hips lifting up as high as you can. Now hold at that position. You can glance down your body to see that from your rib cage, your hips and your knees, you're creating a long diagonal line. Now hold here, take a deep breath in again, and then as you breathe out, keep your hips high as your upper back starts to melt. Your mid back starts to melt down, your lower back starts to melt down, and then finally your hips and your bum touch down. Good. When your bum touches down, rock through that kind of forward and backward tilt, and then the tailbone tucks again. Press through the heels, send your knees forward, raise your hips up to the highest point. Hold, take a deep breath in, breathe out, rolling your spine once more, coming all the way down onto the mat. Good. So we'll do about 3 more like that. Don't worry if you lose the kind of breath at different points. Just make sure that you are breathing. And if you notice that you're holding your breath, just bring in some breathing through different parts of the movement. As I say, don't worry too much. What I'm giving is a guide, but maybe do what works for you better. Now, we'll go for 2 more, and as you're coming down, really focus on the knees reaching forward, the hips staying high, so that we can really delay. So I don't want you to think about trying to move through each vertebrae as you come down, because that level of control is pretty impossible. But we're going to have different tightness at different spine segments for everybody. So if you focus on sending the knees forward and then delaying the hips as you roll the spine down, then naturally that will start to create more space into the parts of the spine that feel quite tight for you. Good. Now next time, raise back up into that bridge position and hold it. Keep the front part of the ribs softening in toward the body. Keep that tuck of the tailbone between the legs. Knees reaching forward, hips high. Now, as a result of all of that, and now that we're staying here, you will be feeling, as a little bit of a bonus, a nice bit of connection through the glutes and the hamstrings. Rest at any point with this one. Come down at any point if you need. But if you're still here with me, maybe see if you can raise your arms up directly above your chest, like we did with the arm arcs, and then the arms go over your head. So think now, as the arms are overhead, that you're reaching your fingers away from the knees, so that the stretch now starts to include the upper back and the shoulder joint. Take a deep breath in, and then breathe out, melting through your upper back, your mid back, your lower back, all the while your hips and your bum are delayed. Good. Once your bum touches down, then bring your arms down by your hips as well, everyone. Nice work. So from that, I'm going to get you to come up into a seated position, just like so. and we're going to take it into what's called a roll down, but we're going to do just kind of like a partial range with the roll down itself. So your feet are still hip width distance, you're sitting up pretty tall through the body, and just allow your toes to press down into the mat, nicely spread apart, and that'll keep the front of your ankle nice and open into extended position also. Now reach your arms forward, relax your shoulders down, and from this position, tailbone is pointing down into the mat, the crown of your head is reaching up towards the ceiling. Take a deep breath in. Notice the spine react, and we lift slightly higher, exhale, gently drop down. Next time, breathe in once more, hold that inhale breath. Now, like we were doing with the bridges previous, as you breathe out, your tailbone starts to tuck between your legs, your lower back starts to roll away. Go to the point just where you feel your toes slightly lift off the mat. Take a deep breath in, and then breathe out. Your hands start to reach forward as you step back up to where we started. Continue. Exhale, find that tuck of the tailbone as we roll away, and notice that the mat starts to massage into the glutes and your lower back area slightly. And as we go to that small range, the toes lift, and then as we come back up to where we started, the toes press down. Good, so we'll do about 3 more, just like this. And all this is doing, we're continuing to kind of articulate and move through the spine. We're using the arms to kind of keep the weight forward. And also with this one, you'll start to feel the deep core and the abdominal muscles starting to switch on. And now that we've created a good bit of stretch into those areas, we will get more connection into those muscles. Now come back and hold. Stay at that position. Now, option 1, stay exactly where you are. Option 2, like the arm arc again, if you feel you can bring a little bit more connection into the core, see how high you can raise the arms. 2 full breaths. Lower the arms, bring your body all the way back up. Fantastic. Good, so let's get you again, just sitting, but this time towards your screen, ideally. And then your legs just reach out in front of you. So probably not been able to see my legs now, but they are just kind of straight or pretty much kind of lengthened out in front. If you need a little bit more of a bend at your knees, maintain it. And then we're going to take it into seated rotation. So we did this in the session last week. So your arms reach wide, your shoulders relax down, and really feel like your middle fingers are drawing away from the midline of your body. Take a deep breath in. As we breathe out, rotate round toward the right. Notice that the left leg slightly goes forward. Come back through the center, breathe in. Look in front. Exhale, rotate left. Continue like this. Spine stays high. As we twist to the right, again the left leg will move slightly forward. As we twist to the left, the right leg will move forward. And that's important because it starts to bring in necessary and important rotation at your hip joint and also right at the bottom of the spine as well. So the discs, we want to, in a position of support and not loading like we would do in more of like a high intensity session or impact sport or running, for example. We want to really increase the diversity and range that we're moving through the spine. 1 more each direction. And then come back through the center. Good. Roll through the shoulders, everyone. And then like we were doing with the Mermaid last week, we're going to go through a Mermaid, but we're going to turn it into more of like a hip stretch as well. So again, from last week, the Mermaid, we've got our leg positions at about an L shape. The left leg is kind of to the side, and maybe press down a little bit more into the front of that left foot. The front of the hip draws down as well. So your arms reach wide, breathe in. And then from here, breathe out. Send the right hand onto the floor. Your left arm arcs up and over the head. Breathe in. We come back up to where we started. Okay, so again, we did this last week, but this time, just bring the right hand onto the floor and your left arm is just reaching more toward the ceiling. You're at a slight angle. Take a deep breath in. Now, if you feel you can take this progression with the stretch and maybe a little bit of weight bearing through the shoulder, as you breathe out, you're going to push through the right hand and your shins to send your hips forward and your arm reaches back slightly. And then bring your hips back down and lower the arm. Good. So reach the arm above the shoulder. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out. Push the hips forward as you press the right hand down. Good. Feel that nice opening through the left hip. Lower the arm down. Raise it above the shoulder. Breathe in. Breathe out. Push. Send the hips forward. That left arm is up. Maybe can you look toward that left hand and hold here for 2 full breaths. And then lower the hips, bring the arm back down. Fantastic. Let's get you spun around the other way. So, right leg to the side, left leg slightly forward. And again, press the front of that right foot into the mat if it allows you to bring the right hip down onto the mat a little bit better. Arms wide. We'll start with the Mermaid first. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, that left hand touches down. Right arm goes up and over your head as your left elbow bends. Really bring that lateral stretch to the side of the spine and then come back up. If that feels enough for you today, just do that. But again, with the next kind of progression into it, your left hand touches the floor, your right arm reaches to the ceiling. Breathe in and then breathe out. Push through the left hand. Send the hips forward. Push down through the shins. Then lower yourself down. The arm comes down to shoulder level. Raise that arm above the shoulder. Breathe in. Breathe out. Push through the left hand. Send the hips forward. Press down through the shins. And that right arm reaches up. Good. Last one, arm up. Exhale, push forward, push down through the left hand, look up toward the right hand if we're able. Keep sending the hips forward, 2 full breaths. And then bring the hips down and lower the arm down with you as well. Fantastic, guys, good. So just from there, just come back up to where we started from, into that kind of high kneeling position, and just have your knees about hip width distance, and then just give your shoulders a little bit of a roll, hopefully feeling like you've got a little bit more mobility through those areas as well. So hope you enjoyed the session, guys. Please sign up to Trainify. It's free to join and you'll receive £20 in credit when you do so. And if you enjoyed this as well, subscribe, like, share, comment, all that good stuff, so that we can keep working on these as well. Have a great rest of your day, everyone, and I will see you next Monday. Take care. Bye.